and I'll go back to you, sir, but I wanted to give you this info so you could respond to it. He said this design will hopefully eliminate conflict. So let me ask you, Dr. Paul, as a doctor, what do you think all this transgender stuff's about? I mean, I know you're not a hater. I'm not a hater. We're libertarians. These aren't our issues. But what is this? Because this is all they talk about. It's all that seems to be going on. And now they say if it goes well at this new theater, they're going to do it at the theaters I go to with my family. I cannot go with my daughters and lead them into a bathroom with women, I'm sorry, squatting over urinals. What is this, sir? This sounds like mental illness to me, doctor.
Right, and they're determined, and this is social turmoil. But it's come about because we've lost the sense of private property, because the property owner should make all these decisions. But this is something that is absolutely absurd. But you know, if they win with this presentation and the people go along with it because they have been coerced and bribed into it, the principle is the government gives you money, and then all the states and local communities grab the money. So in education, different things, schools, they take the money. And the reason why they go along with the law is if you don't do exactly what we tell you, you know, they did this with speed limits and everything else. They put out the carrot there and they say, we're going to take it away from you unless you go along with it. So then the politicians go along with it and the people get frightened. Oh, it's going to cost a lot more. Liberty doesn't mean anything at all. So this is the real problem that we have. But if they win and we don't wake up enough people and there's not enough fighting back on legal terms, at the same time using boycotts, they shouldn't get blamed for this. We, the people, have to get blamed for this because we go along with this. And we have indoctrinated our own people to say, oh, this is the right thing to do. This is good. And if you don't go along with it, you're a bigot. Well, maybe if you don't go along with it, you believe in private property. We don't grant people these rights because in our house, to come in and use our house and live there and use the bathroom. So we write all the rules. But a business is private property. Do they get to write their own rules? No, we gave up on that a long time ago because they said we'd be bigots if we got to write our own rules. So this is the whole problem. The answers can be found in private property and voluntarism and cooperation with two people, no matter whether it's a social or economic issue.
But your expert view concurs basically with what I said, that this is just turmoil, Cloward and Piven, divide and conquer. If they can't compete with free market, just create a whole bunch of crazy confusion because, I mean, in a lot of their own writings, they admit that's their plan.
Yeah, I think that, if you look at the surface, that looks like they're doing quite well. But what we have to have is people to understand that a moral principle can be used to combat what they're saying because they want to grab the moral high ground. You know, we become the bigots if we even challenge anything they say. They're supposed to be able to set the standard. And, of course, for a libertarian, the standard is set no aggression against anybody else, and it's your life, your body, and your property, and you can do with what you want as long as you don't hurt other people. But see, that's been rejected. But that is what should be emphasized over and above everything else, rather than entitlements and corporatism and the financial system we have and the international governments that are developing. They have to be challenged. They have to be challenged, through an intellectual challenge by ideas. It can't be challenged with a little bit of token political activity. That's important, but ultimately, it's the ideas that count.
Again, former Congressman Ron Paul is our guest. Ron Paul, LibertyReport.com. In closing, sir, I want to, in a few minutes, spend some time getting into your brainchild, auditing the Federal Reserve. In 102 years, it hasn't been audited. I guess it's about time now. But before we go there, briefly, so many people contact me, so many listeners, so many people on the street, folks connected to the whole Donald Trump campaign, you name it. And they say, look, we know Donald Trump isn't perfect. I disagree with him on his Apple spying stuff and on torture. But he doesn't want war with Russia, and he doesn't, want war in Syria. He does a lot of good things. But separately, just that he's a populist at some level, just that he's going after political correctness, that he wants to audit the Fed, that he admires you. I know he said some mean things about Rand, but Rand said some things back to him. I would love to see both men friends. I know they played golf. But all that aside, is there any way that you could be given, say, a list of his policies that are on his site and say, I don't fully endorse Trump, like Senator Sessions and others do. And Sessions said he's not perfect, but the system hates him. He's a populist. He wants better deals for us. He's an anti-globalist. The CFR hates him. I mean, it would just be so wonderful to see a purist, Dr. No, a guy with a perfect constitutional record like yourself. I understand you don't want to now endorse him because you've got a perfect record, something nobody else has. But is there any way to at least highlight the things you think are good? Because I would love to see the whole Ron Paul libertarian revolution somehow, at least talking to the Trump populist movement.
Well, I think he's too much all over the place. What he says one day is something, the next day sometimes he flip-flops in one day in what he has said over the years. So I have no idea what he believes in. I don't believe he has a basic principle, a basic libertarian principle. Sure, the one thing that he does real well is challenges this political correctness. So no matter what your beliefs are, people get sick and tired of political correctness, and that's very good. But his economic policies are all over the place. When you talk about a 35% tax on imports, you're looking for a trade war. Trade wars lead to bad wars. So no, I think personally he's very much of an authoritarian. I'm not looking for a boss. I'm looking for somebody who will leave me alone, and he hasn't convinced me that he'll leave me alone. I think he will be the champion of the executive order because he has lived with executive orders, and if he has the strings of power, he won't be bashful in using that. So that is why I'm very hesitant.
Well, I understand, and I've had problems as well. I mean, what he said is basically that's the negotiation with China is a huge threat, because they basically have a 35%, obvious a tariff internally on us with their currency and some of the things they do, and then there would be a negotiation. But I can see people take the brashness that he is kind of being the man on the white horse. Let me ask you this then, and then briefly about the Federal Reserve audit, Bill. Why do you think the establishment on both sides is so scared of Trump?
Because it reveals how the deep state works. It reveals exactly what goes on behind the scenes. And the most important part of their secrecy is the interconnection of all the central banks and the arrangements that we make, especially during the bailout period, 08 and 09. That is the part that they keep very secret. But over the years, even all the way back to Wright-Patman days and Gonzalez's days, the populist-type Democrats, they were always stopped because they did not want to reveal what goes on internationally. And that ties this globalism together, because if you control the money, you can control the politics of it. So that is the most important thing. It would reveal the individuals, the political interests that benefit. So there are financial interests, the bankers' interests, but there's foreign governments and foreign central banks and corporations. They all benefit, and they don't want that revealed.
Do you think they're against Trump because he supports your audit of the Fed bill?
The audit is very, very important.
Sure. How do we get your audit of the Fed bill passed? I know it's very, very close.
Who's against it?
Well, I was saying, I mean, that may be one reason they're against it. Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea whether that's important. I don't think it's known to be an issue in this campaign. If you go out and talk to a couple thousand people involved,
Let's briefly then in 60 seconds talk about audit the Fed. Auditing the Fed, we're very close to getting your dream done, correct?
Well, audit the Fed is doing. Well, we're getting a long way on it, but Campaign for Liberty, our other group, works on that constantly. We've had several votes because we stirred up the population, and they told their congressman, we want you to vote for audit the Fed. It's been very, very successful because we always win the votes overwhelmingly in the House. In the Senate, it's a different story. Rand's gotten a vote once in the Senate. He got a majority vote, but they closed it by closure, so we haven't passed in the Senate. We have a long way to go. And right now, I don't think that any Republican or Democrat that's been running even in this past year, other than Rand, would actually allow the audit to occur because, there's too much tied in. Trump doesn't think the interest rate should ever raise. He loves the idea that the Fed has interest rates down to 0% because his business deals depend on that. So anyway, no, I don't think we're on the verge of passing it, but we're on the verge of getting a lot more attention. And when this thing comes apart, the Fed has to be the big issue. That's how all this globalism and big government has been financed, and that is through the monetary system.
Amazing, Doctor.
That, of course, I think is one of the places where we've had amazing that much success.
Congratulations, 30 years positioning it so the guys that hijack the country get the blame when it comes down, and we're almost there. Thank you so much for your time. RonPaulLibertyReport.com. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Alex.
All right. He did a pretty good job with a 3-second delay. All right, folks, we'll be back. Stay with us. That was Dr. Ron Paul. I'm going to be honest with everybody. I get angry on air, and it's real when I get angry, but it's kind of like letting the dog off the leash. So you could say it's fake in that I'm allowing myself to do it. But that's kind of like saying, you know, if you have sex with a woman, you know, it's fake because you let yourself do it. I mean, it's not fake. Or it's like if you let yourself go swim in the ocean, it's not fake. But when I blow up, when I start yelling and screaming, I'm allowing myself to do it, and it is a way of venting, but it's real. Not earlier today, I got so flipped out, not even that angry on air, but physically angry that I want to leave right now, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to settle down, and everything's going to get okay. Because when something hits you at home, like a month ago, I went down to Barton Creek Mall, where I've been going since I was in elementary school. I'd come down here and visit my grandparents on the summer. They take me to the mall. It's an old mall. I've lived here since high school. I've been going there every couple of weeks since high school. I go to the mall, and there's women wearing beekeeper suits everywhere. I mean, every turn. I start hyperventilating. And folks, I don't do this normally. I mean, I don't do this back when I was younger, when 3 guys were wanting to mug me. I didn't start hyperventilating. And I've got my daughters with me, and there's all these Middle Eastern men, and it's just culture shock that our government's bringing all these people in, and these women were basically slaves. I mean, they get killed, folks, if they try to take their beekeeper prisoner mask off. It's like you know, Gitmo, they put a hood over your head. That kind of freaked me out. But then Leanne McAdoo comes in here with an Austin American Statesman report and a couple others, and a KXAN report, a TV report, and with a straight face, they start talking about we're going to get rid of men's and women's bathrooms and have communal bathrooms where men and women both use urinals. And they've got a big snout that sticks out, and the woman basically grabs it. And it's all about dehumanizing us. And they've got the owner of Alamo Drafthouse, who I've known for 18 years, saying this is to stop disturbances. You're going to have, I mean, I'm not taking my 8 and 11-year-old daughters and my 13-year-old son all in there. I mean, we don't go in the bathroom with each other now. It's been a long time since I went in bathrooms with my daughters. Because we like privacy, you freaks, and civilization. And I had a panic attack. I've never had panic attacks in my life, but I've been asking people, I may go to a psychologist. I'm not kidding. I mean, I'm starting to have panic attacks where I can't breathe. Okay, these people are coming after us. And by the way, Tim League knows full well what he's doing, okay? The owner of the Alamo Drafthouse. He knows full well. This is social engineering. And it's a sick joke. Now, I mean, the school, almost everyone, boys and girls, 13, 14, 15, up to high school, and then people I know that are 60 years old are watching Gavin McInnes and also the next host that's coming on with us. That's exciting when people hit the zeitgeist. But I'm like, reading his bio, and I go, oh, he's one of the founders of Vice. So, of course, he's a smart guy. And I guess they sold that for a few $100 million or whatever it was to HBO. Now they've kind of taken a new direction. But whatever. The point is that this is the real media right here. And I'm not in competition with somebody like Gavin McInnes. I love the fact he's out there bringing up different points, different angles, some of the same points, because this is a war. I want to beat these people. I don't want to be like Glenn Beck, the guy that has all the answers and knows everything and tells people he's Moses on the mountain. I want an army to defeat these people. I want to hit them from every angle because it gets to me personally. He'll be with us 30 minutes to the next hour, and then Anthony Cumia will continue on for another 30 minutes. But the two will be on together in the next 30 minutes as well after this hour ends. But boy, it is just crazy the amount of news. They're saying they want to get rid of the grading system and get rid of below C-. Now, they always propose that. They're doing it now. They are announcing that they want to get rid of parents reading to their children at night and because the family's bad. They're actually saying it on ABC News. I've got those articles. Gavin made a great point. He was on with Paul Watson last week. And I appreciate him joining us again this week. I had to take care of a family matter, and Paul sat in. He made a great point. He said they just want to blow up civilization because they can't compete with normal free market civilization. That's it. These people know what they're doing. And I want to ask Gavin a question. How high up, though? I mean, we know the top engineers know this. They write white papers on it in textbooks. This is admitted. They give ABC News interviews now. But how low down in the strata of the average trendy, authoritarian, mental patient, cult member,